Absolute beings who had created countless universes since time immemorial possessed a power beyond imagination. Their desire for knowledge was insatiable, and they continued to create more and more entities, including laws, souls, and various forms of matter. However, the absolute beings found themselves bored, and they began to observe the conflicts and intrigues of the creatures they had created, seeking answers to the questions that had troubled their minds. The absolute beings were also fascinated by the destructive power of these creatures who had to fight, die, and be reborn in an endless cycle, all to amuse their creator. This continued until an unexpected event occurred. An absolute being was destroyed by its own creation. Upon learning of this, other absolute beings from different dimensions gathered, concerned about the implications of a creature's power surpassing that of its creator. In the shadows, echoes of past evil hinted at the true power of created beings. However, this fact did not excite the absolute beings. Rather, they were focused on the desire to possess the power that had been lost by their fallen comrade. Meanwhile, a young boy named Suho shared the news that he had been accepted into the Korean National Institute of Arts. His friends were initially skeptical, finding it hard to believe that someone they considered rude could have passed the entrance exam. One friend even suggested that Suho should have retaken the exam. Suho, however, laughed along with his friends, feeling a sense of newfound freedom. Suho was in a difficult situation, but suddenly he heard someone behind him congratulate him on passing the entrance exam and ask if he had gotten into the art institute. He turned around to see that it was Kim Cho, who approached him again. Kim Cho said that he didn't think Suho had a talent for it, and was wondering since when Suho became good at drawing. Suho got mad at him and told him that his name wasn't Kim Chul, but Lee Yun Chul. However, Suho didn't really care that Lee Yun Chul was mad at him and pretended that he didn't mix up his name on purpose. Lee Yun Chul said that thanks to Suho, his plan to go to the high school failed, but Suho replied that thanks to him, he was able to graduate. The other students noticed that Lee Yun Chul was provoking Suho again, and they realized that it wouldn't be long before they would have graduation, yet Lee Yun Chul continued to act like a child, ignoring the maturity and responsibility that was already required of him at this important moment. The students couldn't understand why Lee Yun Chul was picking on a man who was trying his best to live a happy life after his parents disappeared. Lee Yun Chul wanted to hit him, and he shouted his name loudly and started to attack him, but Suho stood still, completely calm and sure he could repel the attack. Suho reacted incredibly fast to the attack, striking Lee Yun Chul back, which made him fall to the floor. Suho told him to be quiet until graduation. Suddenly, Lee Yun Chul stood up, determined and ready to continue the fight. His eyes blazed with determination, and he made it clear that he had not given up yet despite the difficulties. He told Suho that he was not hurt at all, and his hand was covered with an unknown energy that Suho saw for the first time. His power seemed mysterious and unfamiliar to him. Lee Yun Chul unleashed an incredibly powerful attack that Suho was miraculously able to dodge thanks to his reflexes. Suho's face reflected fear and surprise, while the other disciples were also shocked by Lee Yun Chul's strength. The force of his punch was tremendous, and it pierced through the nearby iron lockers. Suho, who was lying on the floor, was in a complete daze and couldn't do anything, completely paralyzed from terror and shock. Lee Yun Chul's entire body was shrouded in a brightly glowing aura that emanated from him with incredible power, making him look truly formidable and powerful, capable of crushing any obstacle in his way. 2 years had passed since that incident, and Suho was already a second-year university student. While walking down the street, immersed in his thoughts, he often remembered that day. He heard a man telling the passers-by that all the classes in the main building had been moved to the neighboring building and asked all the students to go there. Suho thought that the hunters were currently conducting a gate sweep and noticed the guards telling everyone to stay away from the danger zone. One of them asked how long it had been since the hunters had arrived, and the staff member replied that it had been a little over an hour. Considering the gate was rated as D-ranked, they should have arrived soon. Suho heard an announcement stating that only hunters could approach the gate. He thought that there was a new gate again, given the increased precautions and strict restriction on access. Suho remembered that 3 years ago, strange gates had started appearing all over the world, and since then, things had changed. Their former world no longer existed. The gates worked as doors leading to a dungeon from which demonic beasts would emerge after a time, destroying everything in their path. But at the same time with these changes, there were people able to control magical energy, and these people were called awakened. In their rapidly changing world, the chaos which felt like it should have lasted for a long time ended much sooner. An awakened man named Jijai Cho created an association of hunters, gathering all this kind together and founding the specialty of hunters. Thus, now all people were divided into 2 groups, the awakened and the ordinary people who couldn't awaken. While some had to break through obstacles like ants, others had it fall straight from the sky into their hands. In this system, the ants were clearly aware of their boundaries. Suho realized that no matter how hard an ordinary person tried, he was no match for even an awakened S-rank hunter. But if the hunter didn't close the gate, this world would be destroyed. In other words, people couldn't survive without the awakened ones, but the hunters could manage without the ordinary people. Suho was grateful to the hunters. The unawakened, like the protagonist, could live peacefully, but he felt anxious about adjusting to what he had lost. It all started with his parents' absence, forcing him to depend on others for his survival, which went against his former independence. The resulting void left him feeling helpless. He recalled his mother's words about him taking after his father and wondered how his father would have handled the situation. Suddenly, his teacher interrupted his memories, complimenting his concentration and drawing. The teacher pointed out that the ant he had drawn was actually a human-like creature. Suho, the protagonist, was perplexed by his own creation. Outside, the staff were preparing to welcome the returning hunters. The successful raid had created a relaxed atmosphere. Hunter Kim Jong-soo reported the discovery of a new species of demonic beasts, humanoid creatures that spewed blue flames. Though not highly dangerous, the hunter was injured by the blue flames, which then took control of him, turning him against his own people. The blue flame-possessed hunter attacked and killed his staff member, shocking the other hunters. They realized the flames were not ordinary and could infect anyone the hunter bit. Panic ensued as people fled, fearing the hunter would turn on them. The commotion interrupted Suho's drawing class. The students saw the blue flame-possessed people attacking each other outside. One student, injured and unable to escape, begged Suho for help, leaving him unsure of what to do. He shouted to her that he had gone to get help and would definitely come back for her. But the hunters had already caught up to him. Suho ran, unable to figure out who he could call for assistance. He thought he had left the girl to her doom, but as an unawakened person, he realized there was only one thing he could do. He closed his eyes and blamed the unfortunate awakening, but knew that just blaming the situation wouldn't change anything. Suho understood that it was up to him to find a way out of this predicament. Suho closed his eyes and pondered what his father would have done in his place. He turned around and saw the possessed hunter already approaching the girl. The girl was screaming and calling for help, but there was no one around. Seeing that she was being attacked by the hunter, she covered her face with her hands and started screaming loudly. Suho rushed to her rescue and, with the help of a fire extinguisher, was able to repel the hunter, saving her from imminent death. Suho knew that in his place, his father would have done the same thing. He would not have left the girl in trouble and would have saved her. Suho then received a notification that he had fulfilled all the conditions of the secret quest, Courage of the Powerless. He remembered a dream he had where he was in a game fighting increasingly powerful monsters, using all his skills and weapons to become stronger and stronger. In the final level, the main boss turned out to be his own father, whom he couldn't bring himself to fight. As Suho used the fire extinguisher to save the girl from the mad hunter, he kept thinking about his father and how he would have handled this abnormal situation. The hunter's entire body was engulfed in a blue flame and he went mad, trying to infect others. Suho fought the hunter as best he could, sure that his father would have done the same, sacrificing himself to save an innocent person. Suho realized they needed to find a safe place, but knew it wouldn't last long, and as an unawakened person, he wouldn't be able to stop the monster. He noticed a strange thing. The monster wasn't falling down, as if it was suspended in the air. Suho was shocked when he received a notification that time had stopped around him, and he had successfully completed the secret quest, Courage of the Weakling. Suddenly, he realized this was just like his dream, where he had to fight his father in the final battle. Suho thought that if the situation was truly like his dream, he couldn't refuse the offer to become a player. Smiling, he confirmed that he would like to become a player now, knowing that his life was about to change. He didn't know what lay ahead, but he was ready to accept the change. The system congratulated him on becoming a player and rewarded him for completing the task. The mage candy Aru granted him a powerful spell, and from then on, he would always be in good health. He also received the enhancement of long life without disease. He was immune to all diseases, poisons, and other negative effects. The system warned Suho that this was not a dream and that he should be careful, as he only had one life. Looking at his stats, Suho thought that this window was just like in the game, just as in his dream, and he was happy about that. The system notified Suho that he had a new mission. To destroy the fog burn and increase his level. Burn of Mist was an awakened hunter who was infected by the blue flame after a failed attempt to clear the gate. After receiving all the notifications, Suho noticed that the time had unfrozen. He looked at the girl and told her to run away from there soon. He could now see all the inscriptions above the hunters' heads, and they were all mist burrs that he needed to destroy. They were simple, unawakened people, and he also saw two unawakened demonic beings and one hunter in front of him. Realizing that he needed to defeat them to level up, Suho saw two fog burns running at him, ready to destroy him. The surviving humans were fleeing to safety, but Suho stood calmly and waited for them to approach. He knew that if he was truly awakened, he now possessed magic capable of destroying the monsters, so he decided to test it. Suho took the fire extinguisher and hit the first monster that tried to attack him, knocking it back a few meters. He threw the fire extinguisher away and decided to test the power of his punch. He swung and aimed his fist straight at the monster's head, gathering all his strength and shouting for the monster to feel the full force of his attack. His determination and rage were palpable, and for the first time he was not afraid of them. The power of his strike increased several times, and he easily defeated the monster, who had previously been able to destroy him with a single blow. The system notified Suho that he was able to defeat the unawakened burn mist, and he looked at his fist, unable to believe that he had such power. The monster saw that he was standing still and decided to attack him, but Suho was able to dodge and counterattack, destroying the monster. The system confirmed that he had defeated the second monster, and his mission was complete. Suho was incredibly happy that he had such abilities and had successfully completed the training. However, when Suho tested his new powers again, the monster took his blow as if it didn't feel any pain, surprising Suho and making him realize that the upcoming battle would be much more difficult than he had thought. He was quite astonished that he was unable to destroy the monster. He realized that his opponent had become much stronger than he had expected. This caused him not only to be surprised but also anxious, leading him to look for new ways to defeat it. The monster launched its attack right after Suho failed to destroy it, and with each passing moment, the attack became more and more fierce. Suho realized that he now had to endure a veritable storm of power and fury to survive and find a way to defeat this invulnerable enemy. Miss Burn had severely wounded Suho in one of his attacks, and Suho felt the sharp pain, realizing that he was in big trouble. The situation had become critical, and he knew he had to change his strategy to survive and continue the fight. Suho gathered his strength and kicked the monster, which allowed him to break free and jump back to a safe distance. Once at a distance, he took a deep breath, realizing that this temporary escape gave him pause to think about his next move. He saw the heavy wounds on himself and thought that, after sustaining a serious injury, the protagonist discovered that he could transform into a demonic creature. This frightened him, as he had only just awakened the system, which had detected his life-threatening injuries and activated the effect of long life without sickness. He couldn't figure out what the skill was, but then remembered that it was a reward for killing monsters. A powerful monster then attacked and knocked him to the ground, trying to inflict maximum damage. The protagonist realized that since he was weaker than a D-rank demonic creature, his own rank must be E. Though he was glad to have awakened, he didn't understand why his rank was so low. He tried his best to restrain the monster and prevent it from biting him, determined not to give up even though he didn't know how to defeat it. Suddenly, the protagonist received a reward notification, granting him skill points and strength points. These enhanced abilities gave him a chance to win the battle. After receiving the reward, he was able to strike the monster and free himself from its deadly grip. He became stronger and overpowered the monster, throwing it to the floor. The monster quickly got up and their deadly duel continued. The protagonist realized he needed to urgently destroy it before it could inflict a fatal wound. He attacked it with a heavy, powerful blow that stunned the monster. He continued to pursue his target, but the monster still tried to destroy him, even after taking such heavy blows. Believing he couldn't overpower the monster, the protagonist invested his skill points in strength, hoping this would be enough to defeat the incredibly powerful opponent. He was surprised to discover that an awakened player could increase their level, as he had always believed the rank of an awakened was fixed upon awakening. Feeling a new power and capability, the protagonist struck another incredibly strong blow, sending the monster flying several meters away. He then relentlessly attacked it, determined not to give it the slightest chance. After a series of monstrous attacks, he struck it, hoping he had managed to destroy it. Exhausted but triumphant, the protagonist confirmed that he had defeated the monster, gaining several levels in the process. He felt confident and sure that now, as an awakened player, he could save people and deal with the chaos enveloping his world. The unknown hunter then moved through the other monsters towards the building. In Suho's hands was a heavy sword that he dragged along the ground as the hunter approached the building. Suho jumped incredibly high into the air, his movements swift and graceful. His goal was clear, and he aimed to reach it with maximum precision and speed. Suho went to the window to see what was happening outside, but suddenly he noticed a swift attack launched at him. He saw the Miss Burn was already nearby, drawing its sword to attack Suho. In a slight daze, Suho didn't know what to do. He had to find a way to avoid being hit and work out a plan of action to avoid falling victim to the swift attack. Suho was attacked by an incredibly strong monster. A Miss Burn awakened, a C-rank creature. Stopping it would be quite difficult considering Suho's own rank. The Miss Burn launched an attack that sent piles of rocks flying down, creating clouds of dust and chaos. Suho needed to quickly orient himself to avoid the effects of the attack and find a way to continue fighting. Throughout the city, An important announcement was sounded repeatedly, informing residents in the surrounding areas to evacuate immediately due to an escape from an underground prison in the Korean University district. The soldiers on the rooftops watched the events unfold below, upset that they were not supposed to interfere even as the people were dying. The commander asked when the hunters from the association would arrive, and his subordinate replied that they needed time to allocate B-rank hunters, surprising the other soldier who thought a D rank was needed here. The soldier saw a familiar face on the list of infected hunters, unable to believe that even C-rank hunters could be infected. Suho saw the dangerous mist burn in front of him who had jumped onto his floor. Suho thought he had only frightened the monster with his attack, but he realized it was a S-rank awakened by the fog. Suho was confident in his strength, having recently managed to raise his level, and had no doubt he could fight the monster. The monster launched its attack, but Suho managed to dodge the swift strike. Suho's heart beat faster with excitement, and he quickly recovered, preparing for the next step to respond to the attack. However, the monster did not launch another attack, leaving Suho in the dark and increasing his tension as he waited for the possible next move. Suho realized he was facing an enemy whose motives and habits were difficult to understand, making the monster even more dangerous. The monster once again drew its sword, intent on attacking Suho. Suho threw a fire extinguisher at it, which the monster chopped in half, filling the room with thick fog. In the darkness, Suho felt the tension building and knew any move he made could be decisive. He decided to take advantage of the situation and escape from the room while he had the chance, realizing the monster was too strong for him to continue fighting. Suho tried his best to leave the building, but there was already a monster behind him who saw where he was headed. Suho had no intention of stopping and continued to run. The monster was smiling sinisterly, his eyes burning with an eerie, evil light. His confidence and hatred were evident, and his every movement radiated menace. Suho realized that he was now facing even greater danger, and his every action had to be carefully calculated. As he ran past the window, Suho turned around and saw that he was being chased by the monster. Suddenly, the monster stopped and looked through the window. He saw 3 people on the roof who stood quietly, unsuspecting and unaware of his presence. On the roof were 3 frightened girls, sure that they had to wait there until the hunters came but unsure if they would be saved. The monster decided to change his target and started to attack the 3 girls who could not resist him or escape. He was about to deliver a fatal blow when Suho stopped and saw that the monster was no longer chasing him. He had jumped out the window and was now attacking someone else. The monster did not manage to hit the girls with his sword, and they started to run away in panic, their frightened screams spreading throughout the city. Suho heard the screams and became incredibly angry. He realized that he had to find a way to resist the strong monster, not flee. He ran and jumped after the monster, thinking that he did not have time to wait for the hunter, as the monster would not stop at anything and only he could save the girls. The monster did not notice Suho jumping out after him and was stunned when Suho suddenly attacked him from the back. Suho took the moment to strengthen his position and prepare for the next step in the battle. He was determined to stop this monster before it destroyed most of the people. Suho's attack only angered the monster, who, as if he didn't feel a strong blow, turned around and attacked him with his sword. Suho barely had time to dodge the sword attack, feeling the blade sweep within centimeters of him. His reflexes went into overdrive, and breathing heavily, he quickly assessed the situation to make his next attack. Suho realized that if the monster hit him even once, it would be enough to kill him. He looked around and saw that the monster had been able to destroy a few of the girls standing on the roof of the house and thought that it was necessary to avenge them. He realized that now he couldn't let it leave quietly. He had to stop it here without letting it kill more people. Suho began to give the monster a huge amount of body blows in hopes that it would slow him down and he would be able to give him a decisive blow. He continued to beat it with his bare hands, hitting it harder and harder, but the monster still stood on its feet. Suho realized that it would take more strength to break this stubborn monster. Once Suho's strikes began to slow down, the monster decided to seize the moment and struck him with a sword that was able to wound Suho. Suho was in incredible pain from the wound, so the monster decided to finish him off and gave him a physical attack that sent Suho flying straight into the wall. The monster approached Suho to deliver a decisive blow and destroy him while he sat on the ground, unable to recover. Suho saw that his health level was low and he felt that death was near. He would not be able to continue the fight, and he thought that he had lost this fight. But he kept thinking that he was lucky that he didn't die immediately, and that the system didn't want him to fall at the hands of the monster yet. Suddenly, the monster began to laugh evilly, realizing that he had already been able to defeat Suho, and this realization gave him even more evil confidence, making him an even more dangerous opponent. Suho, immersed in darkness and dust, felt his strength draining as he was bleeding to death. Just before losing consciousness, he thought he was saved by an ant he had often drawn. The ant confirmed that it was indeed him who had saved Suho, and apologized for arriving too late. The ant was enraged at the monster that had brought Suho to the brink of death and easily destroyed it with a single deadly attack. Meanwhile, other monsters were roaming the institute, searching for new prey to infect with blue flames and turn them into the same kind of monsters. One of them spotted a man standing with a mop, oblivious to the approaching threat. The man, seized by panic, frantically tried to save himself, but was paralyzed by fear. Just then, all the monsters were destroyed in a matter of seconds, as the city was engulfed by a wave of magical energy. Suho's pet bear, Bai, who had once been drawn by Suho as a child, reunited with his young master, overjoyed to see him. As Suho regained consciousness, he couldn't understand where he was, but the first word he uttered was ant. The doctor couldn't comprehend what he was saying, but Suho's uncle assured him that he would hire bodyguards to protect him, as the world was too cruel and dangerous. The incident at the University of Arts, which had injured many people, became a topic of intense discussion, with the discovery of the monster that could turn hunters into monsters. However, the most astonishing aspect was that all the monsters had been mysteriously destroyed, leaving everyone wondering who or what had accomplished this feat. Becoming stronger is achieved by increasing one's level. Stu is currently at level 5 and has realized that he has gained a small rank. During a battle with a hunter, Su managed to survive, and he heard a voice that attributed his survival to getting rid of parasites. Suddenly, Su noticed a large shadow with big eyes looking at him. The shadow, which was actually Bear, greeted Su, acknowledging him as the young lord who has grown into a wonderful person. Su began to piece together his lost memories, realizing that the ants he loved as a child were actually the black creatures that had been with him. Bear explained that the young ruler had crossed the boundary to meet him, but Su couldn't understand why he had lived with these creatures as a child. Bear revealed that traveling through dimensions requires a lot of mana, and when he emerged, he was big and intimidating. The card system indicated that Su had been reduced to a common soldier, which angered Bear. Su assured Bear that it was his doing, and Bear acknowledged Su's great healing abilities. Bear explained that Su's father, the great Shadow Lord's son Jinwoo, had sealed Su's power and memory, wanting him to live an ordinary life. Su couldn't believe that his father was still alive, as he thought he had left home. Bear clarified that his father had gone into space to defend their world against powerful beings, including the Itarim, who was trying to take over their world. Su asked about his mother, who had disappeared on the day he was with his father. Bear became angry, suspecting the apostles' trickery. Su wanted to save his mother and meet his father, and Bear said that Su needed to become stronger to do so, as the Dark Lord's war prevented his father from returning to Earth. A new quest appeared, the Shadow Test, where Su needed to prove his qualifications and enter the Dark Dungeon. Bear provided Su with a key that would allow him to travel to the Dark Dungeon through his own shadow. The voice briefly told Sun Tzu to go and reclaim the powers that belonged to him alone. However, Sun Tzu couldn't quite believe what he was hearing about a cosmic war of the gods, a lord of shadows, and all of this not making sense. But now his only task was to gather his strength and save his parents. He decided he would level up as much as possible, just to become strong enough to face them. Breer was very excited by this speech and started to recall when the Shadow Lord had told him to go to the ground and break Sun Tzu's seal. Breer said this was the seal of the Shadow Lord and that the Itarim could also invade the earth. He should return Sun Tzu's memory to the seal and let him protect the land or act at his own discretion, depending on the situation. Breer realized that if this task was entrusted to him, he would stay by the young lord's side and help him level up.